your kingdom here, let the
All right, this is my second attempt at this video this morning because the first one I did not record, got all the way through it. But at any rate, I want to encourage you to go ahead and continue to share with your groups not only the vision of the church that we are to live transformed lives together in our city, nation, and world to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ to all peoples. That we're going to do that by the mission, which is making disciples who make disciples, and that's done in these relational contexts, these relational environments of life groups, and then also the fuel for those life groups is word, worship, witness, and prayer. So again, remember the analogy: fuel for the car. The vehicle or the car that's going to get us to the destination of the vision are these life groups, this relational discipleship that will take us to that point of transformation. And so I'm going to continue to hit that in church each week, and so you continue to hit it in group, and hopefully people will be solidified in that. I want to look at this passage today. Basically, it is Jesus' instructions, his final instructions and warnings given to his disciples before he sends them out to minister in his name to the people of Israel. And he instructs them not to take anything with them, but they'll be blessed by the hospitality of others. But whenever we get down to these questions, they're primarily focusing on verses 24 through 39, but also in 16 through 23 as well. There's definitely some things in there we need to look at. Excuse me. These first two questions really kind of go together. What are the risks listed in the passage for following Christ? In each one of those sections, in my Bible, it's broken down like this: 16 through 25, 26 through 33, and 34 through 39. In each one of those sections, you're going to find risks that Christ gives in following him. But you're also going to find rewards that you have for following Christ. And so I would encourage you, even before group tonight, go through there, underline what the risks are, and then go back and underline what the rewards are. You can even list those out as people share those with you, because you're really trying to get them to dig those things out of there. You can write them down on a piece of paper, and after you see all of those, help people understand you don't get the reward without the risk. You go through the risk to get the reward. And so I apologize, my phone keeps going off here. But then question number 3, how has our cultural Christianity affected our commitment level to Christ? Has a lack of official persecution resulted in less radical devotion to Christ? And so what we have now is this cultural Christianity, especially in the South, where for many decades that it has been beneficial for people to be a part of Christianity, not only politically but also just socially. It's been accepted. But there's also been a lack of true devotion to Christ, and that meaning that you can be Christian in name only and not live out the obligations of Christianity. Rather, you just kind of coast along. And so there hasn't been persecution, but has the lack of official persecution resulted in greater devotion to Christ or lesser devotion to Christ? Now, I think that's pretty easy to see that we have less of a devotion to Christ, because if there's not the risk involved, then people don't take it as seriously. Do I think we need to pray for persecution and risk? Absolutely not. But we do see the result of this cultural Christianity, and that's going away. By the way, we're moving into a post-Christian, anti-Christian culture, and the more that gets that way, the more I think persecution you will see. I think in my lifetime we'll see not only persecution like you see with the baker who refused to make the wedding cake, and that went all the way to the Supreme Court. But you're also going to see probably physical persecution in the United States for standing up and living for Christ. And so I think that's something we need to not be alarmist about, but it is something we need to prepare people for, because I believe that's on the horizon. Um, and so, thinking about that, next question, number 4, is why would Jesus say repeatedly not to fear? Well, because he has told them that they're going to be maligned, that if they called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more the members of his household. And so there is going to be um, fear, because people are going to um, malign your character. They are going to say things about you that are not true. He has also told them not to fear, because people can only kill the body, but they can't kill the soul. And rather, they should fear God, who can throw both body and soul into hell. And so there is a real danger of them going out and completing this mission that Christ is sending them out to do. And so the reason he continually tells them not to fear is because fear is a natural reaction that people have whenever they're told that they could be ridiculed, persecuted, and killed. But the reason they don't have to fear is because God watches over them all the time. He is not unaware of what's going on to them. And so, um, and also there's a re-understanding or a relearning of why Jesus came. He didn't come to bring peace, he came to bring a sword. Now, ultimately, through his death, burial, and resurrection, we can have peace with God. But he didn't come just to bring peace among men. There's going to be a division that happens among them, even those closest relationships. And so, question number 5, how does safety influence our decision and lifestyles? I think it affects our decision and lifestyles in a massive way. There's this pop theology out there that I'm sure you've heard before, that is being in God's will is the safest place you can be. Well, not according to this passage. According to this passage, being in God's will could be one of the most dangerous places for you to be. And so we need to debunk that understanding and help people realize that God didn't promise us safety. He promised He would watch over us, and He would one day resurrect us if we ultimately lose our life serving Him. But He doesn't promise us safety. And so, as a result, if remaining safe is our top priority, number one, we're not going to go and do things that He wants us to do. Number two, we're not going to be joyful whenever He calls our kids or grandkids to do those things. And thirdly, we're going to be missing out on what He has for us. We don't want to miss out on what God has for us. And so we have to turn that understanding upside down. Number 6, how have we lowered the bar for what is required to be in a relationship with Christ? How do we attempt to justify the numerous places in Scripture where Jesus says things like this regarding the requirements for being His disciple? I think you can probably flesh that out in your groups pretty easily. I mean, I think we say, oh, well, God wouldn't do that to me because He wants me to be happy. He wants me to be healthy. He wants me to be whole. God wouldn't require this of me because, I've got kids. I've got to take care of them. Well, we're not in a place of official persecution, and so it's not the same. Like, we use all of those excuses to justify not living out our faith radically to God. And so then the last question is, how are you going to live out this life of complete devotion to Christ? And I think that's going to be different for every person in the group. But I do think that it is important that you try to flesh that out with people and not just say, no, I'm gonna do that. Because we can say real easily we're going to do it, but if we don't put anything down, if we're not specific, then we'll just kind of go on coasting. Lastly, I just want to tell you that tonight you have life group, but next week we have our quarterly business meeting. And Chris Sims, who used to be the pastor at Pilgrim's Rest Baptist Church out toward Bethesda, is going to be here. He has planted a church in Wyoming, as many of you already know, and he's going to be here to tell us about their church planting movement out there that's going on. And not only has he gone out there and started a church, but there's many others that he has helped start churches out there. And he's going to share with us not only what God's doing, but how we can be involved in that. So I want to encourage you to get your groups there, to hear Chris, to be involved in the business of the church. It's really vital that we invest in the church and invest our time and our effort in it. And so encourage them to be there next Sunday night for that quarterly business meeting, and also to hear Chris Sims. So I think that's all I've got for you today. If you got any questions, give me a holler before you have group tonight. And I'm looking forward to hearing great things about what God's doing in your group. Thanks.